The entire contents of this podcast and website are based upon the opinions of Tammy Garcia and her guests, unless otherwise noted. The information on this podcast is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified healthcare professional and is not intended as medical advice. It is intended as a sharing of knowledge and information from the research and experience of Tammy Garcia and her guests. This is the Naturally Inspired Podcast, coming to you from our 1890 homestead in Johnstown, Colorado. I'm Tammy, and I want to thank you for joining us. Let's get started and help people feel good so they can do what they love for longer. Today on the Naturally Inspired Podcast, we have Debbie Ireland joining us. Debbie is a licensed acupuncturist with a Master's of Science in Acupuncture. She was certified by the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine in 2012. She's worked for 3 years with the Healing Warriors program. She's treated active duty and veteran service members with pain management, sleep, and Ptsd. She believes in integration of Eastern and Western medicine and is passionate about advancing the understanding of Chinese medicine. Welcome, Debbie Ireland, to the Naturally Inspired Podcast. So welcome, Debbie Ireland, to the Naturally Inspired Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to get started with you because I don't know that much about acupuncture. I really don't. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a word that most people have heard and maybe some people have tried, but I don't really know how it works or, who uses it or why. So this is going to be great for me. I'm going to learn a ton of things. So I'm really excited to talk to you. So with that, let's get started. I want my audience to kind of get to know you. So tell me, where were you born?
I was born in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Maryland.
Oh, nice. What was it like growing up in Washington, D.C.? Were you close to the city and the capital and stuff? Yeah?
Pretty close. That was like where we go to hang out and do stuff, especially as I got older. It was crowded.
Yeah.
Very intense. The intense is a really good word. It's just a lot of go, 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 go. There's not
Right.
very opposite of Colorado. So I lived there for 39 years and decided I needed a better quality of life. So for me,
Oh, wow.
so just decided we're moving to Colorado, and took my 3 kids and moved out here, and they've done very well being out here. So
That's awesome. So how long have you been in Colorado?
12 years.
12 years. Okay. And what do you like best about Colorado?
The weather.
Yeah, we're so spoiled here because we do get, we do get winter and snow and stuff, but we get to see the sun every day.
Yes, it's nothing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, nothing compared to the East Coast. I'll take winter here any day. Even the best days of winter are only like sporadic. So, in the mountains, of course.
Right. And just the outdoor lifestyle. I think everybody's in agreement on that. It's just.
And the pace. I was just at dinner with a friend of mine, and she's from the East Coast too. And one of the things that we know about being out here is you go out to dinner no matter where you go, even if it's a nice restaurant or a casual restaurant, and people are still in shorts and jeans and t-shirts, and nobody dresses up, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes you'd like to dress up, but it's really kind of nice. My wardrobe budget went down quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's pretty casual around here, which is good, I think. So what was it like growing up for you with your family? Was there influence on natural health, or how did you get interested in that?
Really?
No?
We did have an influence of an uncle who was actually what would now be called a holistic dentist.
Oh.
He knew about things from, there's a company called Standard Process that's been around forever. He does herbal and herbal formulas and stuff, and he knew about them forever ago. That was like 50 years ago for me now. If I have always had digestive issues, he'd be giving me all kinds of herbs.
Right.
and homeopathics. He did a lot of that too. So he was actually, it was very interesting to me what he used to do. I didn't understand it
Right.
when I was so young.
Right.
Definitely, a little bit of an influence because I at least had exposure to it that, it just was not heard of back then.
Right.
So,
Right.
at least in the United States.
Right. I would agree. I don't think it wasn't the norm when I was growing up for people to go the natural route. If you had something wrong with you, you just went to the doctor.
Yeah. And my parents trusted him, so they would try that route for things for them and for us. So they were very
Lucky.
open to it. I guess that's a good way to put it. They were open.
Yeah. That's lucky, really. I mean, that's really lucky that you had that experience at a young age and that you
Yeah.
had that trust with him.
Until you asked me that question, I didn't even think back that far and realize
Right.
that definitely was an influence. So
Interesting. That's super interesting. So that was kind of I would say that sounds like it was a little bit of a seed that got planted early on. So what brought you,
yeah.
yeah, what brought you to natural health and you're into acupuncture? Do you have a story about why and how you got involved?
Well, as I stated a few minutes ago, I've always had a lot of digestive issues since being as a child,
Uh-huh.
um, and pretty severe digestive issues. Never knew
Mm.
what they were. Went the Western way. Also, a lot of as I got older, a lot of hormonal imbalances.
And what
That
kind of symptoms were you experiencing?
For my stomach, it was what is now considered IBS, which I think is what it would have been called back then, but they never knew. So
Right.
just a lot of pain, discomfort, difficulty eating anything that doesn't upset my stomach, a lot
Ah,
of food allergies, or sensitivities that I didn't realize I had. So I kept eating these things and would just, in the end, ended up giving me what's called leaky gut. And
right.
that's not fun because you have to recover from that. And you can, but if you don't know you have it, you just keep making it worse and worse and worse. So
Right.
Western medicine just kept diagnosing with things and giving me pills, and it just wasn't doing anything. If anything, it was making it worse. And the hormonal imbalances were just horrible, horrible periods and all that. So just horrible. And ovarian cysts, all that kind of lovely female stuff that
Right.
people end up dealing with.
Right.
But have no solution other than taking an Advil. But the Advil, unbeknownst to many people, causes ulcers. So
I know. And it was fascinating to me. Just recently, I learned because I knew that, that kind of stuff affects your gut. But what I didn't know is it actually causes hair loss as well.
oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was a new nugget I learned just recently. I was shocked by that.
I could see that. I could see,
Yeah.
but yeah. So you have stomach issues, and they give you 800 milligram Advil to take or ibuprofen, and
Yeah.
then you get an ulcer on top of your already stomach issue.
Right.
I was just done. So I reached out to an herbalist, and she helped with all of it. I mean, just because
Wow.
one of the things I realized at that point with working with her, she was able to work on my whole body. Because
Right.
at that point, I was having, a little bit of depression from all the issues that I was having without
For
having
sure.
relief. So a little
Right.
depression and the hormonal imbalances were just going crazy. And especially after I had my children, everything got a little bit worse with that. So
Hmm.
get better.
Right.
Help with all of that. And I was like, I'm sold. I want to learn
Right.
this. So over those years, I moved several times, and I went from Frederick, Maryland to Columbia, Maryland. And in Columbia, Maryland, I met a woman an Indian woman who owned her own pharmacy, but she also did acupuncture and herbs, but they were Western herb formulas. So
Okay.
similar to Eastern herbs, but with names that we understand, like
Okay.
Vitex or something like that. And they're different formula. I mean, it's just they're one thing. Like Vitex is one thing, when more Eastern formulas are mixed with different things. So
Okay.
the results. And so I apprenticed with her like an informal apprenticeship and learned and learned. I'd drop my kids off at school, I'd go to her shop, and I'd hang with her all day,
Oh, wow.
stacking shelves, asking her questions about everything. And I learned so much, and I just kept feeding the flame of wanting to keep learning more. So I looked into an acupuncture school back in Maryland, but it just didn't fit me.
Okay.
I would be looking for. So I went on a path of nutrition, nursing, health education, all these different things.
Right.
Just wasn't doing it. One, every time I moved, I had to do more credits, lose credits, and then
Right.
credits. And I ended up with like 2 bachelor degrees in the end of it all.
Oh my goodness.
Switched into different things. Started to go down the nursing path and decided very quickly that was not for me.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to help people, take care of people, and that's my
Right.
nature. So I needed that. And my acupuncturist back in Maryland was like, "Well, you can do this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's like, "You'd be great at this." So, because the one back in Maryland was more herbs, more than
Right.
acupuncture. And so I looked into it when I moved here, and moved here in 2007, and I started there in 2008. So, and that was,
Wow.
I started the path. I knew it fit. It was right. It was perfect. So,
Right. That's amazing story. And I love how you shifted each time, something didn't work. You just kind of shifted again and tried that and shifted here and tried that until you found what was really clear to you was the right path.
you got to trust that if something's not working, you just got to move a little to another path. See
Yeah.
how that. I always tell my kids that.
Yeah. That actually is such a theme with all of my guests I've noticed. It's really is about a non-linear path to success. You really do. It's up and down, and you're constantly kind of tweaking it to get where you're supposed to be. So you're just another story that's just which goes to prove to everyone that it's just not such a neat little box that's all wrapped up with a bow. Here you go. This is perfect. It's when you come into your real passion, I think it's taken you along a journey to get there.
Yes, yes. And I
Wow.
think I'm not sure I would have even gotten there without doing all that other stuff.
Right.
You got to make sure the things you don't like to do also.
Right. That's so true. Okay. So the $1 million question, what is acupuncture?
Okay. Well, I actually typed this up because I want to make sure that I'm super clear on the way I explain it. So
Okay.
it is a holistic, whole body form of medicine that's been around for over 3,000 years. And then, of course, it's originated in China.
Right.
There's many other places that use it. Japan has their own style. Korea has their own style. America is starting to have its own style. Acupuncture helps to reduce many imbalances in the body from emotional to physical, helps to activate the natural self-healing abilities of the body. It can also
Okay.
strengthen and support the body to prevent future illness and disease. So how this is done is by carefully inserting a fine little needle into the body, and this stimulates points along the meridians in the body. Meridian,
Okay.
the way we look at meridians is like they're waterways in the body. They're called rivers and springs and things like that. And acupuncture is used to keep those water flows flowing freely. The
Is
points,
that like the lymph system or is it something different?
um, it is not necessarily. No,
Okay.
it's part of it. It's part of it. I mean, what chi is the energy of our body. This is very simplistic. And
Yes, of course.
it runs on all parts of the body, the nervous system, as well as your bones and your muscles and everything. And your cells of your body is all fed by chi. And
Okay.
the way we look at it, yeah, it isn't as simplistic. Is it the nervous system? Is it the lymph system or something? But it is part of it. It's
Okay.
all part of it. So, um,
Okay.
but the points along the meridians that we put the needles in all have actions and indications that are used based on the patient's needs basically to help them get back to a balance or homeostasis.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the meridians. Um, is this like a clear path line that you follow down the body?
The meridians actually go in all different directions, and they're based upon energetic organs in the body. So
Okay.
the gallbladder meridian is not a straight from here down to your, from your head to your toes.
Okay.
It comes up through a little bit in your back, and then it comes up the front and through your head and your neck. And there's like a whole path that's kind of very crooked, and some do go straight.
Okay.
Most of them have a very different pathway.
So as part of becoming an acupuncturist, then learning all those meridians?
Oh yeah, the meridians are easy. It's the 300 plus points, and the axis
Okay.
of each of those points, and then there's extra points, and then there's other points that are, if you're specializing in 5-element, and like what I do is more sports acupuncture and more pain management. So
Right.
I learn different points as well, but they all have different actions and indications. I mean, it's very cool when you put in what we call stomach 36. That not only calms the mind, but it also relaxes the digestive system. So,
Okay. So when someone comes in for an appointment and they come into you for specifics like stomach issues, what can they expect with an appointment? What happens from there?
well, on the first appointment, I have an office and I have a treatment room. So people come into my office, we talk about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I send them a very long, intensive work homework to do before they come in. Forms
Okay.
because it just gives me, with acupuncture, you really need to see the whole picture, because
Right.
people don't understand that a headache and a stomach ache are connected usually. And sometimes they're on the same pathway. There is some connection usually of everything in the body. So it's good for me to see the entire picture. They're like, but I just hurt my ankle. Well, why did I mean, there's a reason why there's a weak area in your ankle, unless you jump from 10 stories and fell.
Right.
Right. That's pretty. And did not hurt their ankle that way, but it just gives a full picture. So then we talk about what you've given me. So that gives me an opportunity to come up with what we call a prescription. So a diagnosis and a prescription of what we're going to do. I'm going to take you back. And one clinic I have is totally private, and the other semi-private. So when we get back to the semi-private clinic, I will sometimes ask you to remove a piece of clothing if you're comfortable, if I need to get to your neck or your back or your hamstring or whatever we're dealing with, and you're covered up and all that.
Right.
And then you lay down, face up or face down. And then I come in and give you a treatment. And then after you have your treatment, you sit there with a cover if you want it, for anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on what your needs are. And I usually do a muscle testing to kind of feel how long someone needs to be on the table. But I can also, after as many people as I've treated, I kind of just have an idea.
Okay.
Constitution. I mean, if you come in and you are wiped, your adrenals are tanked, you're stressed out, and all you really want to do is sleep, I can't let you sleep that long, because the treatment will be so strong for you because your body is so weak that I really do need you think in that circumstance, you're like, oh, I do want to stay here and sleep all day.
Right.
Just be too wiped out. So like a treatment like that would be more like 20, 25 minutes, and acute pain is usually 20, 25 minutes.
Okay. So after they're on the table and you're administering the treatment, like we talked with the example for the stomach, what would you would insert are they called needles? What are they called? They're called needles. Okay.
I insert the needles. I feel for the points. I know what I'm going to do before I go in. Sometimes I'll do some extra points if I just feel the need when you're there. The needles are very, very thin. Most people don't feel them at all.
Okay.
But however, if you're already in pain, so since I deal with pain so often, if you're already in pain, you're going to feel it a little bit.
Right.
But you should feel it a little bit because you're inflamed and you're putting something in an inflamed area. But, I would say 9 times out of 10, when you get up off the table, that pain is it's reduced so much that.
Oh, wow. So your clients experience immediate relief?
Sometimes, yeah. So a lot of times with the type of pain treatments I do that do a lot of trigger point release,
Hmm.
It requires about 24 hours or so for you to feel the full effect because you're a little sore after. It's almost like getting a deep massage and you're sore
Okay.
24 hours and then you're like, oh, wait, now I can move my neck. It's
Okay.
like that. So just for the really, the acute or intense pain situations, like spasms, like where you
Right.
all of a sudden can't stand up or your neck hurts so bad you can't turn it right or left, those kind of things. But most of the time, people are like, "Oh, you're done? I didn't even know you put the needles in."
Right.
So that's how.
Okay. So once you've inserted the needles, what is that doing on the trigger point? Is it opening up the energy in that area? What exactly does it do at the at the point?
Yeah, if I'm doing trigger point therapy, it is going to be releasing the spasm. So
Okay.
basically, just as you just did, kind of like it just opens up that area. So you're taking something that's mad and all closed up and tight and
Yeah.
trying to release it and let it know it's okay to let go.
Right.
There are motor points and trigger points all over the body that if you know how to needle them properly and if you know where they are, you can release those spasms and it works instantly. Instantly. People come,
Wow.
they can barely stand up and then they can walk out.
So the trigger points aren't necessarily where the pain is, right?
Um, correct.
Or
Sometimes
okay.
it's true. There's radiated pain. Usually anytime there's a spasm, if either just sitting there, there's radiating pain, like that sciatic pain or headache that's coming from a neck pain, you will feel that radiation pressing on it or just sitting there. That's an indicator. It's a trigger point and not just a tight muscle. So,
Okay.
or an inflamed muscle, which most of the time when you have a spasm, there's inflammation there also. So you
Right.
decrease the inflammation and release the trigger point and relax the muscle. So that's where you get the whole body treatment.
I
So
see.
that's called the trigger point therapy. And a lot of what I do is called more local acupuncture. So I'm treating the local area. But with that, with traditional Chinese medicine and theory and what the points do, the actions and indications, I always do a whole body treatment along with a local treatment. So I'm either calming the central nervous system down, I am dealing with stress, I'm calming the stressors down, which is huge.
Right.
Relaxing muscles in the body, moving blood and chi in the body, all those things on top of just releasing the muscle. Because for my feeling about just releasing a muscle is that
Mhm.
aspirin. I'm just giving you an aspirin if I do that. If I don't do the other things, it's just going to come back. And,
Right.
and that's not going to be, yeah. So the whole point is to keep doing treatments to prevent that from coming back once it's released.
Right. So you're treating the whole body and kind of almost, is it like detoxifying almost?
Spasms can be, depending how long they've been there. People will have a detox effect from that. They'll feel wiped out. They can feel a little bit nauseous, a little bit dizzy, depending how long they've had the spasm and how intense it is. From the actual, if you do not have a spasm and you're just coming in for a regular treatment and you don't
Uh-huh.
have that intense acute pain, um, there isn't a ton of detoxing, but there can be because some
Interesting.
after their very first treatment, they will feel very tired. They'll be like, I
Oh, yeah.
slept for 12 hours. I was like, that's good. Always listen to your body. That's what it needed. And it probably
Right.
did that for a really long time.
Right. So with someone that has chronic pain, how can acupuncture act as pain management for them with chronic pain?
It keeps the inflammation down. I mean, the
Okay.
inflammation, like arthritis, bone on bone, nobody can do anything about that. You just can't. You're going to have
Right.
pain from that. So what acupuncture, and I have many patients who come in, I'll use knees as an example because I have quite a few patients who have arthritis in their knees. They don't want to have surgery
Yeah.
ever or yet.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is just once a week, they come in and we treat the knees and it brings the inflammation down. It lasts about a week to 2 weeks, depending on what the person does in their life, what their lifestyle is like, and how much
Right.
weight. People that are heavier weight tend to need to come more often because there's more pressure on their knees and
Right.
it won't last as long, but it still keeps the inflammation down for a period of time. So they use it as
That's
a
amazing. Yeah. It
Knee,
would much better for you than taking, pain medication.
yes. And I would say that for knees, for if you were to ask me, what people got off pain medication for the most, easiest would be probably for knee pain, like when they have arthritis in their knees, that they come to me once a week or once every 2 weeks, and they don't have to take the same level of medication. Now that can be said for lots of other,
Yeah.
treatments I do for arthritis and all, but those pretty works really well for that.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really, with the opiate crisis that we have in this country, and that's amazing that we can offer another modality to control pain other than medication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I worked with veterans at Healing Warriors, which is in Fort Collins. It's a nonprofit
Yeah.
organization that offers acupuncture, healing touch, and craniosacral, and hopefully they're able to add more stuff on eventually. But the goal there is to keep people off of medication as much as possible, because um, the places they had to go to were starting to limit them anyway. And,
Right.
and some of them were taken off like instantly. So we were there to help them recover from that, which was very, very difficult.
Right.
But they
With
don't.
like withdrawal symptoms?
Yes.
Wow. So acupuncture can help with withdrawal?
Oh, yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a big mental physical component that happens with that also. So it's good for that whole body balance kind of thing when you're going through something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. I did not know that. I
And
didn't know that it could be used for that.
they did not want to be on medication. So pain pills, especially, a lot of them. So
Right.
they would come once a week, and that was more palatable to them than to
Yeah.
be on medication, because most of them were on it and had to get off of it, and they never wanted to be on it again. So it was very
Right.
helpful. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
So what types of ailments do you see most in your practice, and who's a good candidate for acupuncture now? I just learned that, it can help with addiction recovery, which I had no
Oh,
idea. I had no idea about that. So what other little secrets are you holding there, Debbie?
well, pretty much is a humongous list. I mean, really, there's nobody that acupuncture couldn't benefit. Um,
Okay.
Even if it's just a preventative to keep you, as I mentioned, it helps strengthen the body. So, I mean, it can, I work with a lot of pain, but I work with athletes. I help them with, recovery, but also for enhancement, not
Oh,
legal like doping enhancement.
yeah. Oh, you've piqued my interest now.
To make sure that those waterways are flowing very free and clear when they're going to compete. And I'll tell you
Right.
what it is, because I treat aging athletes the most, is
Yeah.
getting them out of enough pain so that they can go compete, and then they come
Right.
back and do what because they'll just go push through the pain, but
Yes.
right, but they still want to be in as little pain as possible before they do their thing. Then they come back and they recover with me. So
Okay.
I treat 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds. When they're sick, for pains, aches and pains that young athletes have that are in school,
Yeah.
that have, believe it or not, have a knee pain or neck pain, or anxiety is a big one. See a lot of people for anxiety, more than depression, but they go hand in hand a lot of times.
I feel like there is a huge rise in anxiety,
There is.
especially in our young people.
Yes, and I would absolutely agree. I treat quite a few young people for anxiety, and that's all they come in for. And I see them once a week, sometimes just for anxiety, and it really makes a big difference for them.
So where would be some trigger points if you can just kind of show us so we would know what to expect if we wanted to send our kids there? Where would be some of the places where you would insert needles on someone for anxiety?
Oh, so trigger points are for pain.
Oh, okay.
Acupuncture points are, so there would be some up here on the top of the head.
Okay.
There would be a few up here, and then there's one that goes here, and there's a couple in the ear, just in the ear area.
Okay.
Then
So
there's,
top of the head, between the eyes, in the inner ear.
and then there's some points maybe on the wrist,
On the wrist.
and
Okay.
some down on the legs.
Oh, wow. So it's like really head to toe,
Oh, yes, yes. There's one inside the chest, the top of the chest here,
like in
around
your sternum.
the neck. And they're all inserted fairly shallowly for those points. So,
Okay. And is it a quick insertion and you pull it out, or does it stay in there for a bit? It stays in for
it's
a bit?
yeah, they stay in for kids only like 15 minutes, but for adults 20 to 40 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. That's really cool. So you're seeing more young people, you're seeing aging athletes, but you also said you're seeing people for enhanced performance in athletics.
I do. I don't see enough. My husband's an athlete. I try to use him as my guinea pig to
Yeah.
see what's going on. And I get more people for more, please get me out of pain so I can do my event, and then I'll come back and recover and get more acupuncture to be out of pain after my event. I get
Okay.
more of that. I get more of that. I absolutely do more the enhancement when for my patients who come in on a regular basis that are my athletes. So
Right. And again, that would just be bringing the body, if they didn't have any specific problems, it would just kind of, bringing the body to a point of homeostasis where it's just able to perform at its peak.
correct. I can give you a perfect example. My husband, we were in Durango. He was about to go on a race. He's a mountain biker. He was going on a mountain bike race. He was, anxious and, just nervous. And I was like, let me just put a few needles in you.
Yeah.
And he had like 4 hours before the race. He was going to take a quick nap and he was having trouble doing that. Put the needles in. He's like, all my stress, just everything just went away. He tells people all the
Wow.
like it made such a difference being able to he was able to get a couple hours of sleep before the race,
Right.
and he woke up and he felt great, and it was a perfect example of how much the mind
Right.
and that's all I need to do is just calm his mind, and sometimes that's all I need to do for people. So
That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. And so when you were working with the Healing Warriors Project, is that what it's called?
I was.
Program? You saw you helped people with PTSD as well. Can you talk about that a little bit and the impact you were able to make on that group of people?
I have a perfect example of that. I had a young woman who, even leaving her house was very, very difficult. I mean, a lot of these people just came to their appointments and that's it. They didn't do much else. There's a lot for them to do more. And they had
Right.
ups and downs. And she would tell me that if she did not come and see me, she would be able to do nothing. That
Wow.
just the PTS treatments that I would do would get her out of her house, that she felt like she could handle being out of her house. That was such a compliment.
Yeah.
Or PTSD is actually, it's calming the mind, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ear points. It's what's called battlefield acupuncture, which is very effective. And auricular acupuncture it's not based in traditional Chinese medicine. It was developed by a French person, if I remember correctly. And it was like only 50 years old. It's not very old. And
Okay.
there's hundreds of points in the ear, and there's
Wow.
combination of those points that help different things. It's fantastic. I love it. I use it often. I wish I could use many more of the protocols. I just don't have time to look them up and do them most of the time,
Right.
but they're fantastic. And they do help a ton with PTSD. That's what they do in the battlefield. We did it after the fires in Fort Collins in 2012. I volunteered and headed up a free acupuncture, where people could come in. It was set up through Lamar County, and then we did it separately, and people could come in, firefighters and people that were affected by the fire, and that's what we did. We just did,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And
And
people experienced relief just from the whole, because it's such a traumatic event, obviously. And they experienced relief from that without having to take any kind of medication or anything.
they really did. At least they said so. So
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so awesome. There's something else I wanted to ask you about that I'm kind of starting to see out like in the physical therapy world. And it's something called dry needling. And so can you talk to us about that and how that's different from acupuncture?
So dry needling is acupuncture. So we call it trigger point therapy. That's what I'm referring to when I talk to you about it. So
Okay.
same exact thing. They just have renamed it and 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 use it as saying called dry needling. Um, Putting a needle into the body to induce a therapeutic effect is acupuncture. That is the actual definition. So dry needling is acupuncture based upon
Okay.
the definition. And I do have a link on my website that explains it pretty well.
Oh, great. We'll make sure that we put that in the show notes.
Yeah. But the concern out there about our profession is that people with very little training are needling people incorrectly and unnecessarily. Even though they call it by a different name, patients have come to me and told me they're afraid of acupuncture because they say they've had acupuncture and it hurt them. But come to find out, that statement has never come from anyone other than someone who had dry needled by someone who is not a licensed acupuncturist. So I have
Okay.
to spend some time educating them that it's different. People that are dry needling and they're all over, it's PTs, chiropractics, they're receiving certifications of like 300 hours or less to put
Oh,
needles.
wow.
So
So they're probably not getting the training about the meridians, I'm assuming.
they're not getting any type of theory around it. There's no,
Oh, so
there's
it's
no
strictly practical, just
just practice.
how to do it. Okay.
So, and I personally have had 3,000 hours of classroom and clinical experience before even starting my practice. And then from there, I continued my education, enhanced my skills by having an apprenticeship in sports medicine and other certifications around pain management type treatments.
Right.
And I've also treated over 10,000 people with needles, putting needles in them. So
Right.
I feel I would feel that people would feel comfortable that I can put a needle into someone's body safely and correctly.
Right.
It's just
Right.
a matter of educating people of the difference. So, and there are some out there that do have acupuncture certifications as well. I just
Okay.
always advise my patients who go to PTs and say, should I get dry needle? And I'm like, just ask them what their qualifications are. Are they
Right. You want to get someone that has an acupuncturist qualification.
yeah, and if they are, go for it, but some people say, well, I was just dry needles, can I have acupuncture? I'm like, it's the same thing.
But it shouldn't hurt, right? Acupuncture as a rule should not really hurt. I mean, you covered if you're in chronic pain and you're always in pain, then you may experience a little bit of pain, but you shouldn't feel like a pincushion, correct?
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
that's really good to know because I have seen that, from time to time, and I've wondered how that is different. So that's really good information, I think, for everyone to know. So you definitely want to find someone who's certified in acupuncture if you're going to get.
Right. And just ask them, how many hours of experience do you have? How many hours of training do you have? You have the
Mhm.
right to ask that question. You have the right to say, you know what, I think I'm going to go to an acupuncturist, or I'm going to go to my acupuncturist.
Right.
So,
And maybe if you have had dry needling and it didn't work, which is that's always kind of disheartening when somebody's out there doing something that's not really getting results because they don't have the proper training, and then it gives the modality kind of a bad rap.
exactly.
I would say give it another try, but try it with an acupuncturist.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you're really pretty passionate about integrative medicine and, integrating Eastern medicine with Western medicine. Can you talk a little bit about how you think acupuncture could be more integrated into our Western medicine model?
Well, I what I do, and not that the, the type of acupuncture that I do is easier to be integrated than basic traditional Chinese medicine. Again, my foundation is always traditional Chinese medicine.
Right.
Because when I pick a specialty like pain, people can understand pain. Insurance companies understand pain relief. Doctors understand it. Chiropractic, it's a more Western way of looking at it and dealing with it. So it's a little bit easier to be a little more integrated.
Right.
It's very
I
hard.
feel like it's more recognized than a lot of other, like even a functional medicine doctor. I feel like acupuncture is more recognized than going to see a naturopath. Is
I
that true?
would,
In terms of insurance?
oh, yes, but barely, barely. Well, I mean, the difference is a PT with very little training can bill for dry needling, and we cannot, and get
Right.
more than we get paid to give a regular treatment. So, and I may
So
be,
is that why they're calling it dry needling? Is,
I don't know, and
you
it
know,
could be,
to get billing to.
and, and they could be, and that's, completely acceptable, because
Mhm.
it's hard to get paid by the insurance companies and be respected for and valued, financially for what we do.
Right.
So for all those fields, chiropractor, PT, acupuncture, it's all the same in some
Right.
respect. So
Right.
yeah, that alternative, medicine.
Yeah. But I mean, that's got to be frustrating as a practitioner because you're seeing results. It's frustrating to me, quite honestly, as a patient and as someone who I really passionately feel like I should be able to choose how I want to how do I want to treat myself, and especially if I'm paying what I'm paying per month for insurance. Um, and then they box you into this little corner that, oh, you can only do this, this, or this. Well, I don't even know why I have insurance, to be honest, because it doesn't cover anything,
And it's
nothing that I choose to do.
on our end too, because they not only don't pay us enough, but they will just, some companies, not all of them, but some of the management companies of the insurance companies will say, yeah, we'll give you 20 treatments, but we're deciding what you can get that for. So they'll turn down claims because it's either not for pain or it's not within their scope of what they cover.
Oh, I see.
Because you went in with, menstrual cramps, we're not going to cover that. So it's not part of your 20. And that makes it very hard. It's just not, it's not easy. It's just not.
Right. Right. Well, my hope is that, these types of things will become more recognized and valued for what they are as we spread the word to people that, hey, this actually works. And, let me ask you this. What are the side effects of acupuncture?
There's a funny article that came out about that as being, you're rested and stress and you have less pain. And for the most part, there really isn't really any side effects. I mean, like I said,
Right.
you're super depleted, really worn out. You can be very tired, or you would be sore if I'm releasing a spasmed muscle.
Right.
24 hours. Sometimes it can be 2 days, sometimes it could, depending how bad that muscle's been spasmed, it can take 24 to 48 hours for it to feel like, oh, okay, that feels better now.
Right.
Other than that, sometimes you can be a little dizzy when you get up from the table, and that usually shakes off pretty quick. It's usually because somebody hasn't eaten before they've come, and always eat before you get acupuncture and drink.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip.
Yes, but we'll get lightheaded because it's still, you're getting a treatment. It may seem pretty simple with those little needles, but they're pretty powerful. So
Right. That's definitely the image I'm getting here is that once you learn the meridians and where you're inputting them very specifically, that it's kind of, you know, just fascinating to me how the body works like that.
it's still fascinating to me over and over and over again how it all works.
Yeah.
Very, very fascinating.
What have you seen the best results with? Is there, I know you've mentioned knees, you've mentioned arthritis. What about chronic illnesses like lupus or fibromyalgia, or do you see clients with that, and what are the results with that?
Interesting enough, I used to see more patients and with more chronic diseases. And what's interesting is always the underlying thing.
Mm.
If they have and maybe it's fibromyalgia. I have not treated anybody with lupus that I'm aware of. Lyme disease, fibromyalgia, MS. We always treat that, but they're always coming in because they either have chronic headaches or they have urinary problems or they
Oh, so they're trying to get rid of the symptom.
yes, or nerve problem. Right. And of course we're always treating their root, which is trying to, in Chinese medicine, there's different ways of diagnosing it. So we're always trying to treat those channels or meridians that we know are affected by the disease.
Right.
We don't look at it as MS or something like that. We would call it B syndrome, or there's lots of different things that we call it. And we treat it that way. And then we try and treat some of the symptoms to calm down some of the symptoms as well.
Right.
So
it sounds like a big part of it is calming down the body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really is. I mean, I can't do a treatment without, I did community acupuncture for 3.5 years, treated 6 people an hour, up to 6 people an hour sometimes. And even though I had to be quick, always threw in points for stress, because even if it was in the ear or someplace else, it's such a big part of why we're ill. Why we're ill, because we can't manage our stress, or maybe genetically we have something that's going on that is keeping our body from producing the chemicals it needs to properly, and we're not supplementing properly or eating properly, and it's still putting stressors on the body, and it always needs to be calmed down, except for people that are retired.
Right. They're just kicking their heels up and having a grand old time.
Don't have stress. I have a lot of retired people, and they're the happiest, easy going. It's like, well, where's your stress on the scale of 1 to 10? 1? Like, I don't know what that. It's not like I can't wait.
That's fascinating. So, Debbie, where can people find you? What is your website?
It is www.touchoftheeast.com.
www.touchoftheeast.com. And are you on social media? Do you have a Facebook page?
I do.
And that's Touch of the East?
It is Touch of the East, yes. And I have to say, I don't love social media, so I don't post as often as I should. But
right.
I keep people up if the office is going to be closed or what's happening, and I usually send emails for other stuff. So I'm not a big social media person. I'm trying. But
well, you have a beautiful website. It was so easy to find you, and you had such great information on there. It was, it's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with you, because your website was so great. So definitely go check out her website. You'll learn a lot about her just from that. And lastly, what would you say to someone if they're thinking about trying acupuncture, but they're maybe a little skeptical? What would you say?
It doesn't hurt. And it's going to make you feel better, and give it a try. In worst case scenario, you come in and it's not for you, you don't come back. But everything is worth trying, especially if it means that there's a possibility that it's going to help you.
Absolutely. And I would say that too, that don't give up hope, because you'll never know. You just need to kind of keep making those changes and shifting to find the right path for you so you can achieve optimum health. So don't give up. There's lots of things out there.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Debbie, for being on the podcast today. It was such a pleasure to meet you. If the naturally inspired movement makes sense to you, let's do this together and transform the medical model and help people take charge of their health. Learn more about how you can join the naturally inspired movement by going to naturallyinspiredadvocate.com or call me at 970-475-4862.